Oh, God. Here we are, Stevie boy. Stevie, there it is.
I'm just going to drive up saying, oops, just reminiscing. Oh, it is.
Oh no. Ooh, wee boy. My heart's going like mad.
The ones we could get right up to the top there, because it'd be nice to see what.
That's the same vehicle that was there. I'm sure that's the same vehicle that was in the last video. There's the house. I knew we could walk up back here. Do you know what? That is so weird. When we came here last time, I was like, I could have sworn you could walk up there and then couldn't see it. Oh my God, that's where it all happened.
See up here, we're only showing we walk.
Right, okay, so that's the house. They've put an extension on there, haven't they?
Well, that's the main house, right in the kitchen. So
Oh, I knew something had changed, yeah. Right, well, that was a little bit mad. So we drove up to the house, and here's Stevie boy. So we drove up to the house, okay, to have a little look. And anyway, the people who own the house, they were there. So we had a little chat with them. Oh, we've been actually on the land, stood where we were stood, done the do. I mean, a lot of it's changed. There's so many more buildings on that property now. So we couldn't actually walk any of the bits where I ran, because that's all been built on now. That doesn't exist anymore. But the little corner where I was stood, that's still kind of there, even though it's not the same. Everything's grown, the wall's gone. The chicken wire fence, etc., that's not there anymore either. So, but the trees are still there. So I got a photograph of the trees. We had a good chat with them. They were really, really nice and weren't freaked out or anything, thank God. But so now we're just going to have a little mooch about and do some filming and take some pictures and see if we can kind of get the angles of where we first saw the lights as they were coming over towards us. Maybe even a little bit of a mooch of the walk that we did the next day when we were looking for any reason to explain these lights, which ridiculously included a nightclub with lasers on the roof. So we did though, didn't we? We were clutching at straws like anything. Come on, we've got to find a reason for this, because what it appeared to be is impossible. So, but obviously not impossible because it was there. But so that was a bit mental. Stop shaking now. I was shaking like mad when I was on the property, but they were a lovely couple. They were really, really nice people. So yeah, I didn't expect to be able to do that. We were here, where these trees, these square trees, this is like here. I'm pretty sure that's kind of where we were. So it's come from here, in the furthest part of the horizon, and then moved inwards, but zigzagged in, and to here. Okay, it's a little bit windy, so hopefully you'll be able to hear what he's saying. So we are over the valley. Now, where do you think it came in, Steve?
Okay, we will have been just located down here, so we could actually overlook the valley in front and the valley over to the left, over this way. Now, when I saw the lights appear, I was looking over this way in between the valleys, and this is when it became prominent in the sky. After a few minutes of actually observing, this is when I decided to call Sacha, because to me I couldn't explain what was going on. So as the lay of the land and the valley comes round, this is where the light in the sky became more prominent, moving over, following the valley, until, lo and behold, it was above us. This took great time.
How long do you think it took? How long do you think it took?
Uh,
Because I've never been able to really guesstimate this.
it must have been half an hour to 40 minutes until it was actually above us, but to say that we'd returned that evening around 6:30 and the phone call towards family and friends took place around 9:30, we've got to take into account it could have been between 2 to 2.5 hours at least.
Yeah.
And that's without any extra time added on there where Sacha has gone out. You know, it's obviously, it didn't seem to be that long, but looking at the time frame of when I made the phone calls back to Leeds and the time we arrived back home, given that it was February and it was dark and miserable, you know, there's a fair few hours which have actually gone into this sighting. You know, most of the time, I mean, I felt numb, shell-shocked, maybe hypnotised by what was going on. Something
Yeah.
I've never really...
That's a good way of describing it,
I should
yeah.
have actually mentioned that before because it occurred to me thereafter. I mean, yeah, there's a certain form of hypnosis because everybody was numb, people were acting strange. Why would this be? Why would we have felt that way? We can't say what it is, but it obviously something happened. And the hypnotism and the numbness of like what should be said, what should be done, something as ridiculous as when Sacha has returned back into the house after venturing out there. You know, my initial reaction, well, you know, there's no missed time, but the missed time may already have occurred because this happened evening time. You know, we weren't going to stay out there walking in the dark. We weren't too far away. We're just along the valley. We'd been to Llangollen, we'd been to Pandy also that particular day. So, you know, why would we be out in the cold and the drizzle when we had a log fire at home and some good food to eat?
And two small children.
Yeah, taking everything into...
We wouldn't be out late with two small children.
No, not at all. So,
And the other part, like, you know, you're saying about the hypnotism, or like it was like hypnotism. The one thing that really disturbs me is the urge that you had to actually go outside. What were you doing when you had that urge?
I just felt the need. I mean, this has happened before, where it's almost as if you need to go and do something. Sometimes I'll listen to that, other times I won't. I'd already established that night, oh no, it's overcast there, won't see anything. Little voice says, well, you never know. Oh yeah, okay. Not being negative about it. I just felt the need to go out at that moment in time and just have that moment to myself. And that's when this effect in the sky became visible and then became more obvious. I had to stand there for a good few minutes observing, thinking, hey, you know, what is this, before I actually alerted anybody else, or Sacha. And it's like, come on, what is this? You know, I can't explain it. What is it? Is it an electrical storm? Why is it moving? Okay, things move, but why? And to the expanse there, I mean, we've been past that way in the valleys, but to actually see it from this angle and at this height, more so, it was immense. It was immense because even from, say, 50 to 100 meters lower from here, you can still see the extent of the valley range. You can see that. It was covering the sky. There's no doubt about that, or the effect of what was going on within the clouds or above the clouds. It covered the entire sky.
Yeah, we couldn't see this much of the sky, really, could we? Because of some of it was obscured by the hills, because, you know, that we were not at the highest point.
It went over to the horizon. We could see it did cover to what was the central part of the actual spectacular which was there, because that could have been amplified over. It's like it's just a continuation. Is this the effect it's given from the centre, the epicenter of it? Is it moving out? Obviously so, because the effect was there. It was immense.
Yeah, now, because unfortunately you can't make it on Saturday due to work and life getting in the way of you living. So I'm going to ask you a few questions that I think the audience might have asked you, had you been here today? Okay.
Okay.
So, first question I'm going to ask is, what made you go outside? Why were you out there looking at the sky?
Well, initially on return to the cottage that particular evening, I got out of the car and I looked up into the sky, thinking, "Oh no, look at this! It's overcast. My God, I ain't going to be saying nothing tonight. I'd like to see the stars, see if there's any kind of activity." But unfortunately, no, it was overcast, and it was like this little voice inside the head. It says, "Hey, Steve, don't be stupid. You know, do you ever think clowns are used as some form of camouflage?" And it's like, "Oh, fool, get in the house."
You actually thought that the clouds would be camouflage. This is in your head. Yeah.
It wasn't. Maybe it was in a subconscious part of my
Yeah.
head, because I was doubting the fact. It was always nice to maybe stargaze. I'm no astronomer. I'm no specialist in these things, but it's just nice sometimes. It's relaxing and it's something I enjoy to do, but enjoy doing. But if it's overcast, what the hell are you going to see? The cloud. That was this little inkling, this little voice, well, okay. I shunned that off, and obviously we all entered the house that particular night. I just remember being inside for a while, and it was a sensation of I need to go out for a breath of fresh air. I just need to go out. And I went out for a wee while, and this was the actual front of the cottage, and still being overcast, now very much dark. It's just glaring over to the valley into the darkness to see then some form of light which was appearing. Through
Well,
this, I could see the silhouette of the valley.
what
And
did it
thinking,
look
hey,
like?
in the beginning, I actually thought it was some form of blanket lightning. Yeah, in the beginning, hey, there's some kind of activity. There's going to be a storm. But in actual fact, it's like I was almost at the point of just coming back inside, and I thought, no, well, I'm just going to stay here for a few more moments. I'm just going to, hey, what is the rush? With this daily routine, I'm just going to, but hey, this is getting slightly bigger. What is actually going on? More so, you can see the silhouette of the valleys, and it started to come over gradually. It was at this point, of course, I came into the house and I said to yourself, "Hey, Sacha, hey, look, there's something going on up there."
It
Yeah.
looks like lightning to me. Yeah.
Take a look. Take a look. What do you think? What is this? Am I going Lulu? What is actually going on here? It's just, you know. So that was the initial reaction. It was like, kind of. I was quite astonished because, no, hang on a minute, it doesn't seem normal. I can't explain it, but it could be what are the different forms of electrical activity which is going on up there. What is, but no, just hang on a minute.
Well,
It's
it did
growing.
look to me, it looked like lightning in the clouds. It looked like far away, a little flicker, and then it was gone, and then it came back on, but then it went off, and it came back on, and it went off. That's what it was doing. That's what I
Yeah,
remember.
so that's like when it started to expand in the sky, it became more apparent. This is why when I first went out there, I mean, obviously, it's like you look at something, you look away. It's not enough to actually catch the eye, but it has actually caught the eye, so to say, because you wouldn't look back at it otherwise. And that I did, and I realised this is different. It's something is actually happening.
It's
So
not in the same
when it was coming
place,
towards
but
us,
it's actually expanded.
yeah, describe that. Describe what that looked like.
To me, as it first started coming over the valley, it was more illuminating the cloud around it, and obviously the silhouette of the valley. But as we went round the back, the side round the back, and we called the others, we then, well, I personally remember that's when it started to be more expanse. The expanse of this effect, which I've seen up in the sky, it was just manifesting more so. And well, you know yourself, that's when the others were there. They were observing what was going on. There were various reasons why this could be happening. You know, I even questioned myself, but that was after. Could it be any form of radiation, the residues which had been left from the Chernobyl disaster?
That was your thought, but I want to talk about what it actually looked like, not what
it looked like. Well, to me, as it started covering the sky, it seemed to take a certain pattern to me, which was that it was revolving in clockwise, but within the clockwise there was an anti-clockwise swirl effect. But in the middle, it became more apparent that there was some form of activity, which, to me, the easiest thing to actually explain that would be more like a jellyfish effect. It was strange. It wasn't just a white light. To me, it seemed no electric blue, like a pale grey blue. I put it down to maybe even being part of the cloud. That's why the colour shades were changing. But there was some form of formation going on, and to that I became quite hypnotised. It was just there. It was expanding. That's all.
So as I remember it, I thought it was getting bigger, but I realised it was getting closer. You know, and then when it was in front of us, it was literally the whole of the sky, but there was like a central thing of activity, as you were saying, but it kind of rippled through the clouds, the light expanding through the clouds, through the different thickness of the clouds. There were brighter parts, so it appeared like there were lines that were brighter, but it was actually the different densities of the clouds and the
There
light.
was definitely a formation. The central point was the epitaph of it all.
So it looked like a jellyfish in a way, didn't it? It was like it kind of
the epicenter of it all was the central point. Everything else just seemed like some form of oscillation, which was there, but it most definitely, as I say, as it did envelop the rest of the valley and came above us. It's like, what the hell, you know? That is when, obviously, we all were suspecting what could it be. There were miners there, 4 or 5 year old, they're asking questions. And
they seemed to know what was going on, and we were just kind of too blown sideways to seemingly.
I think, sidetracking them to kind of protect them at one point, because we didn't really know exactly what was going on. And that was a strange part of it. It's, how can you explain it's there? What is actually going on? I don't believe this. Did I ask for this?
Mm.
Did I foresee this event happening? it's there. And obviously, from there on, obviously, you know, certain things occurred. Things started to go a bit strange.
Yeah, well, the strobe light. So you were kind of like to the back of me, and I saw you know, on my right, a strobe light bouncing off the side of the house. So you stood facing this way, so you were kind of behind me but facing this way, and it was there. So this strobe light hit you full in the face. Um, hit my back, but I kind of turned around and said, "Oh, look, there's another one." Now, that's when it all got weird, like super weird, because it was already weird. Like you started to feel uncomfortable then, didn't you? And you say you can't really remember much past this point. Is that right?
To the point I was so fixated on what was actually going on above, and that's when the strobe light appeared. Wherever it came from, it appeared to come from the left side of me, be it reflection, be it whatever it is. It just totally shocked me. I wasn't expecting anything. I'm there, like, fixated on what the hell is this? This is just like, is something going to happen? What's going to happen? Is anything going to happen? What is this? Just to then moving on to a moment.
Yeah.
Like, what? And the next moment, it's just, I think building up to this, obviously people started acting quite strange. But I mean, we're taking it now to the latter part of that experience, or my experience of that moment in time. I just remember being inside, trying to, well, I actually called one of my uncles, and I called my friends from the house back home. And I just needed to report. It was around 9:30. Now, estimate that we must have arrived back to the cottage around 6:30, 7 o'clock maximum. It was going on for quite a while, because within the first half an hour, it had been sighted.
Well, it took about how long do you reckon? About 30 to 40 minutes from where we saw it on the furthest point to get to us.
Yes, I would actually say so, because we could have been no longer than an hour observing this at this point. But I mean, for the time we actually arrived back home, I mean, none of us were expecting this. So it's not the kind of thing that you're going to, hey, arrived home at so, yeah.
No, don't know exactly.
1600 hours.
Really.
It's not something you actually have to do. But when you recap on things, you obviously start to relate, and you think, hey, hang on a minute. Okay, 6:30, 6:45. There's a big difference there. There's 2 hours and 45 minutes. Because during or just after this experience, I'm actually calling one of my uncles, my family, my housemates. Hey, look, I just want to say something's going on here. I just want you to bear witness. So there's quite a big time lapse. I mean, from the point of the strobe effect, I became. Well, I don't remember much after that, apart from entering the house.
Yeah.
And whatever happened thereafter is just another story altogether. I mean, it's not looking for something, a story to tell. It's pure experience. It's just pure.
Now,
it's just. I can't explain it. You don't know what's going on, but in a state of shock, when you relate the states of shock, I mean, we can act irrational, we can be very calm in a stressful situation, or a situation be known to ourselves, something which is, which is different. It was just the occurrence, just in general was just completely.
What do you think to everybody's behaviour that night
It actually affected.
and after? Like,
And thereafter,
what
the
do you think?
following day, that people were affected.
Night as well. What do you think?
That particular night, I mean, witnessing, you know, a family member allowing a minor to basically deface with an axe, which is a part of the house, and thinking, what's got into you? You wouldn't do this. You wouldn't do this. What is going on?
He was taking himself out of the event, wasn't he? Putting his back to it and
You could call it escapism, but it was the extreme irrationality.
So you went back in the house, you went straight to the sink. The kids went back to where they were playing when I came downstairs, and John and Danya just walked straight into the living room and sat down and started watching TV. So I looked at you a lot thinking, what the hell are you doing? Like, I was like, you're all behaving weird. Not that this was weird. And I thought that it was a normal thing to just walk out by myself, walk back up the garden, stand right underneath it. And like you say, you said earlier that you were like, well, what's going to happen? What now? Well, that's exactly what I was thinking, looking at it. But I was just like awestruck. I wasn't even frightened at all. But when I heard those feet, those footsteps, that was when all of a sudden, boom, the chest just exploded with adrenaline. When it hit me, whatever it was, I was out of there. I was gone, and my brain was like, run. I was already running. I was already running back to the house. And then you said, and I got in, well, you haven't been out there long, so you haven't had any missing time, which totally just broke my brain. That was the end of me then. That it was like, I don't care. I don't like, why would you even say that? Lock the doors, shut the curtains, boom. We are holding up now. Like, this is war. And what do you say about that after then? Because I was in a state of absolute terror. And how are you feeling?
Well, I think was a certain level of cognitive dissonance bouncing round one's head at that moment in time, because obviously I said to you, there's no missing time. How could you relate that? That was I became numb. I could understand they were sitting in the living room watching the TV. It's to shun something off. You can't explain. What do? It's like when a person is traumatized. Okay, we know a little bit about psychology. You push it to the back of the brain.
Maybe not always possible. Yeah.
How?
So you said that you felt watched as well, didn't you? You said this.
I felt observed, and this I mentioned to you because after the initial observation and the event, it hadn't gone away. It was still there. It didn't go away. We've related it. Could it have been the house? No, it's not the house. It's what happened. It's as if you were being observed. You remember quite rightly. I said to you, this is strange. I feel weird. I don't feel kind of comfortable right now. It's as if the walls are transparent. I just feel as if I'm being watched. What's going on? I mean,